Hello, this is Vampire, back with another article discussion, this time from the November 2005 issue of Black Belt magazine. The article that I want to talk about is right here. It's The Karate Way, Bad Teachers by Dave Lowry. Okay, it starts off pretty intense here. It says, I always try to slip in my favorite question to spice things up. Suppose there's a Budo teacher whose skills you admire and who is, in a technical sense, an excellent instructor. He's also a jerk, a spouse abuser, a philanderer, and a drunkard. He's someone you wouldn't invite into your home in 1,000 years, but he has skills you very much wish to have. Would you apprentice yourself to him? My personal answer is no way. This is a very bad move. Now, that being said, I have done so deliberately in the past, but I knew that I was playing with fire, and I knew there was going to be consequences. I knew I had to be careful, and boy, it was a very dangerous situation. But normally, it would be completely a no. So then he says, in other words, how important is a sensei's character? Is it as important as his talents and ability to transmit them? However you put it, this can be a tough question. Technically proficient teachers of the Budo aren't exactly falling out of our trees. The character of the instructor to me is very, very important. I have admitted that I did train under some people with very bad personalities, very bad characteristics, but on the other hand, I have also trained under instructors that I felt was technically lower than, let's say, myself at the time, and still I went to go train under these individuals. Why? Because I felt that they had other things to offer. You know, it's not just about how much tail you can kick. So even if I felt that I could beat up this instructor in a street fight, to me that wasn't important. You know, I was there to learn, and they had plenty of other things that they could teach me about. Maybe they're older, so they could teach me about life, to have a better attitude. I remember this one instructor that I had who felt like he was pretty invincible. I think a lot of instructors feel that they're pretty awesome, and he was not an exception. However, in my mind, I felt that I could wipe the floor with this guy. So that was very difficult for me to have to deal with that. Obviously, I didn't go into class trying to prove to him that I was a better fighter. That wasn't important to me. Actually, I took it as a lesson to be humble. So, you know, he would be like, oh yeah, I can do this, that, and blah, 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 blah. And instead of fighting back against that comment, arguing with him, or, you know, basically portraying a mirror to where we become combative, you know, I swallowed my pride and I said, yeah, you know, and just took his lessons and did it. So that was kind of a humbling experience for me personally. But the most important thing about this particular instructor was that he was a good teacher. Believe it or not, he was actually very, very good teacher. He was patient. He was kind. You know, I remember one lesson where it was myself and another student, so it was a semi-private lesson, and he spent pretty much all the time on the other student. And with me, he was like, you know what to do, just work on those things and just keep going. And he did come and check me out, check out my progress and stuff, but he spent the majority of the time on the newer guy. And then later on, he came up to me and he basically kind of apologized and said, you know what you're doing. This guy needed more help. You know, he's the guy that's going to be in trouble in a self-defense situation, so I spent more time with him. And I admired that very much. It wasn't like he's going to favor the teacher's pet. You know, usually that's what happens in a classroom environment. The student that does very, very well gets all the attention. Instead, this was a student that was struggling that he gave the attention to. So I admired that, and I learned a great lesson right there. Okay, here's the next part. You could argue that no one's perfect. Indeed, anyone who's looking for a Christ figure in a gi is in for a very long search. I wouldn't dispute that, but I think it begs the issue. I'm not depending on a Budo sensei as a role model, and I don't expect him to be perfect. I'm looking at him primarily as an instructor, someone who possesses the skills I want and has the ability and means to teach them. I don't have to approve of everything he does or thinks. While I don't necessarily agree with the politics or views of my sensei, there's nothing they've ever done that I consider morally repugnant. They're not perfect, but they're decent men who lead upright lives and are honest and respectful of others. While I didn't need them as moral trailblazers, I did and do regard them sometimes consciously, sometimes unconsciously, as role models.